artificial intelligence. AI is anything that can add on value using digital knowledge. So, what is the future? At present, AI incorporated into financial technologies is in the form of basic chat boxes. Where if you go to any particular website like Paytm or EOI, there's a chat box that pops up and it asks you what you're doing. But if you've tried using those chat boxes, you will see that those chat boxes, as of this day, they are not that relevant. They are not that good because they use outdated neural network technology. So for the future, what we have to focus upon is incorporating AI in such a manner that can add on to a value from a consumer oriented perspective. So at this point in time, I would like to say that there is this report by FinTech by Five, which states that moving forward, around 67% of all FinTech companies are aimed to incorporate AI, which is not the case as it is today. High companies such as Paytm and all, these are financial services companies that use FinTech a lot. They do not use AI. Supposing you want to analyze the credit score of a person, supposing the CIBIL score, as of this day, there is no use of AI there. What they do, they use old technologies, they use financial models to try and analyze whether whether a loan can be given to that person. But if you use machine learning, if you use AI, that process, which takes a financial analyst an entire project, that's minimized to a few seconds. Which is the future of AI? We have to spend resources, we have to spend money, we have to focus a lot on R&D, because this is the future. The future where where the amount of time that you spend as an analyst is actually reduced and your productivity increases overall. So I would like to conclude my opening statements on a very optimistic note.
I would like to refine the idea of AI, which what Rajdeep said. So AI, as it sounds, is artificial intelligence. Now, what distinguishes humans from animals and robots is our intelligence. Intelligence is something which we learn on a day-to-day basis, and we try to improvise the project. A robot will follow steps given to him, but humans, we do follow steps, but then we learn and we improvise on those steps. So basically, AI is something which it's a model. It's a set of methods or set of steps, which while iterating they learn on their own. So there are a lot of financial transaction happening in fintech world, and AI is something which will keep on learning and keep on improvising, because you know that finance industry is changing on a second to second basis. What will happen in the market in the next second, no one can predict. So AI is something which can, by learning all of that, will be able to more predict the future more, precisely than humans. The future, now I'll talk about the future of AI in fintech will be, as you all know, there are a lot of trading algorithms in the market right now. So what they are just the base set of steps which follow certain indicators and will, automatically play the bets of on your behalf. So that thing can be, made better with the use of AI. If that model, right now it is fixed, it will just follow the instructions given by the programmer. But if that model can learn on the own, the possibilities are endless. The probability of winning is endless. The preciseness through which it can, place bets or place trade orders is endless. That's the future, I guess. And secondly, as what Rajdeep said, there are a lot of parameters to think through. Like if I pick up trading, there are a lot of indicators out there, but a trader will only stick to 4 or 5 of them for his or her prediction. Now that's where AI can come into the picture. They can, predict all those parameters in just a split second and give you the result. But again, there is a lot of uncertainties in the market also. So in future, what I think is they'll be really helpful to how we make our decisions. But at the same time, they can't do it on their own. It will always be some kind of human interaction because of the uncertainty and just because the scale and, the reality of the market. Like somewhere it is, at last it is connected to human and human's decision in the form of board of directors, etc.
So interesting point, Toshav and Rajdeep. I'll like to take a different, line of thinking out here. So Rajdeep spoke about, about where AI is currently standing now. So what I feel is there are various phases to when you go for a game changing or path changing technology. As of now, initially when we got AI, it needed data. In the past few years, we have had as much data as what we had, more than what we've had in the past century. So that is one key element through which the AI works. Furthermore, initially AI was just to automate or standardize the routine task. For example, instead of a customer query, you can use a chatbot or something like that. The next step, which I believe will be coming, is the augmentation of any process. For example, if we look at any particular if you look at any particular process nowadays, especially this is very common in the developed markets such as US, many of the trades are placed through specific algorithms. In fact, even if you want to detect an arbitrage in a particular system, does the algorithm does the process. At the same time, we have not yet reached a stage where we are efficient enough. The flash crisis of 2008, which happened due to a bad algorithm, is one such key indicator. So perhaps in the near future, we will be focusing on AI that helps to augment our existing technologies instead of having a decision making capability.
While all of
just
the while all three of them before me have spoken about how AI is important and how it can actually be a major player for fintech in the future, it seems to me that AI also has quite a few disadvantages which has not been talked about in this GD till now. Firstly, I think AI is very exclusive. Take the example of eKYC. It requires voice recognition and image scanning. These are very accurate, and so this has become almost a very important part of our banking system. But consider somebody who is blind or mute. What is AI actually doing for them? Is the Indian society actually including all of them? Where is it, that inclusion that we are talking about, right? So this is an important part of AI. Next, AI services are very expensive. What about the startups? How can they actually take up these AI services in the lack of complete funding? Thirdly, again another important point that I find is that AI in finance is completely unregulated. There is no regulatory body that actually controls AI. So in the midst of all these disadvantages, it seems to me that AI is not actually that complete of a future that people were talking about from before. Yes, it is certainly an important portion, but I think the Indian society still needs to go a long way, and it needs to think a lot about it, create roadmaps, create more policies. The RBI must come into the future. There should be a regulatory body for this, and only then I think that AI can actually play an important role in the future.
Okay, so basically, we've understood where AI stands right now, what are a few advantages and few disadvantages. So by now, we've understood that AI is there for the future. Like at some point of time, AI is going to come in the future. So I wanted to analyze the impact of AI, especially on jobs, which we all are seeking right now. So whenever some technology or innovation comes into place, a lot of jobs are also displaced in the short run. Same thing will happen with AI. A lot of low level jobs, which are a part of a booming economy like ours, will be displaced. So India as an economy will need to be very careful in implementing AI also, because a lot of the job which is actually the backbone of our economy will completely go away. A country like US or even UK, which is actually developed, can implement these easily because there aren't so many people going for these jobs. So even if they're able to optimize and better their processes, in the long run, it is profitable for them. But a country like India, we need to be very careful. Like in the long run, AI will be beneficial to everyone, but we need to be careful how we use it, especially in developing countries, or that can be a big point of concern for the economy on a whole. Now, saying all that, as you know, AI can help in various factors. I was just reading an article in which investment banking will have a huge impact with the help of AI. It will help in portfolio management. It will help in trading. It will give you accurate stops. I had recently seen people use AI on cryptocurrency to get returns of up to 10 times. And this can be very useful in the future also.
I would like to continue on the applications of AI. So basically what I think is AI has three major applications when we see the uses of AI in the future, and particularly in the space of fintech. The first one is algorithm trading, as Shantanu and you all mentioned. We have seen a huge number of people joining the stock market and into trading in the last 1.5 years. And I think that algorithm trading is the next step in the equity market and the derivative market. The second is the insurance industry, and particularly in the automatic claim processing. I think AI will play the major role in the insurance and claim processing, because in the insurance industry, we require a huge workforce, whether it's from the selling till the claim processing. For example, when I was hospitalized once, I had to wait for around 10 days to fully process my claim. And then too, I didn't receive the full amount. So that is the major advantage. At the same time, company will also benefit from the operation and human resource cost when AI will be implemented fully. And the third thing is credit risk assessment. As we all know that bond and fixed income securities markets are growing in India, and it will soon touch new levels. And so as the credit risk assessment and analytics is important when we talk about fintech, because in the last 1 decade, we have seen many companies and people going bankrupt, and Indian government coming up with new policies and regulations like Indian bankruptcy code and many other things. So I think that that will have a huge impact in saving the money of retail investors and the honest taxpayers' money, which will eventually boost our economy and GDP in the long run.
Taking up
Guys,
Shloka's point,
guys,
yeah.
last 3 minutes, please wind up.
So what I believe is that AI will be there in future, and it is going to make things cheaper and accessible to all the people. Like the way we have moved from conventional banking to fintech industry, where we have used basic fintech thing, like making different app so that people access the banking service. And in future we will move to AI, where we can use that in much better ways and in different areas. Like someone mentioned about CIBIL score. So the only criteria we use to give loan is on the basis of CIBIL score, but means that should include different things like the income of the individual and the background. So this will help us in better assessing the individual's capacity to pay back the loan. And also like someone mentioned the point of stock market, so we can use this in searching the arbitrage opportunity, and we can benefit from that. So there are various ways which we can explore if we use AI, and this is going to benefit the individuals and create a major disruption in the existing technology.
I think I agree with you, Ayush. In fact, I would also agree with Preeta. She mentioned that AI is not regulated. So the biggest problem with AI is the problem of data. How will our data be regulated? Because companies will use our data, churn it, process it, and get the new insights. But it will also be a violation of privacy norms. So that is one thing that that has to be considered in the future scenario.
I would like to continue by telling that as the future is moving towards more AI, so AI is obviously will come to replace in the fintech and all, but the way it is taken, the process, how it will not be inclusive in the beginning. It will take some time, especially as Shloka mentioned in developing countries and all. But one of the good things would be if AI is able to solve some of the existing problems in the fintech. One of the main problems I believe is this. Uh, this bad loans and NPS. So if there is an algorithm or if there is AI which can be used, such things, bad debt, etc., could be solved. And the algorithm can be even given to nuclear level, like for each people who are there in stock market, they can plan according to AI. So it will be able to grasp more things in a more sophisticated way. So I believe the AI will be slowly replacing and coming to fintech, but we'll have to see how it is, and certain what to say, the problems of that needs to be taken in mind and solved, like the privacy issue.
By
Okay,
raising
guys,
bad
thank you.
loans.
No, sorry,
हो गया?
thank you.
हो
हो
गया?
गया, हो गया, हो गया.
अरे यार
I said 3 minutes. Nobody concluded. मैं क्या करूँ?
भाई
Hi
इतना
guys.
decent यार,
it's okay.
इतना
Hi.
decent GD, no one interrupted anyone. मैं तो भाई
Seriously.
खुद
इंटरप्ट
बैठ
ना
गया भाई।
यार, एक्चुअल जब
अरे
जेपी
dude,
आएगा तब तुम साले भौंकते
तब
करोगे यार।
वही तो
अबे सुन,
Nobody interrupted. There were people
मैं
saying
तो-
the same points
वही
millions of
तो भाई,
times. Like,
मतलब मैं तो क्या ही बोलूं यार, मतलब everyone raised very good points, but it was like मतलब वो same चीज repeating, मतलब I felt bad, मतलब I was inching to interrupt, मतलब जब actual GD में
करो ना
जब होगा
यार।
ना, अबे तौशिफ ऐसे नहीं चुप बैठेगा in an actual GD, तौशिफ ये ऐसे चुप नहीं
dude,
बैठेगा।
see, dude,
कोई भी
my
ऐसे
my
चुप नहीं
idea,
बैठेगा।
वही
my idea today was to let everyone speak once.
Exactly.
That's what
कौशिक, उसमें पता है क्या प्रॉब्लम है?
genuinely I follow that. I genuinely follow that in
I agree,
actual
but nobody
GD
else will
also.
follow in the
But
actual.
नहीं, Karthik,
हाँ.
एक चीज समझ,
See,
interrupting also
I
continuously ना doesn't look good to the person who's
हाँ.
mediating also. तुम
Yeah.
बार-बार poke
I
करेगा
एक
ना,
सेकंड
तो
यहाँ पे
डालेगा।
बन है ना प्लेस कॉम का, उसको भौंकने दो।
अबे सस्ता प्लेस कौन है?
Hi guys.
देख देख सबके सबके
Hey.
सबके अपने अपने फंडे होते हैं। देख मैं तो मेरा फंडा बता रहा हूँ कि मैं एक्चुअल जीडी में मैं इंटरप्ट नहीं करता हूँ। एटलीस्ट सबने एक बार बोल दिया है, या तो पता चल गया मुझे कि सपोज कोई एक बंदा है जो बोल ही नहीं रहा है, तो दैट्स अ डिफरेंट थिंग। अब सब जंप इन कर रहे हैं तो मैं जंप इन करूंगा। बाकी आज तो वही था, प्रीता के पॉइंट्स के मेरे पास रेडी था, उसने खत्म किया, उससे पहले मेरे पास काउंटर अटैक रेडी था।
मैं तो शांतनु
still
के
I
पास
was
बस
waiting.
बोलने वाली थी, तब शांतनु बीच में आकर
Still I
बोल
was
दिया।
waiting.
अरे
पहले
I
मैं
was
बोला तो
about to say,
श्याम एंड आयुष वांटेड टू स्पीक, फिर पीके बोलने
हाँ।
वाला था, पीके के बाद मैं घुसने वाला था, बट टाइम वाज ओवर।
टाइम हो गया।
द आइडिया वाज टू सबको एक ओपनिंग चांस दे दो।
exactly.
आई थिंक
That
ये
was the
ट्रायल जीडी था, बट आई एग्री विद देख जॉब हाथ में रहेगी ना तो कोई ऐसे
नहीं,
चुप
but
नहीं बैठेगा।
शांतु जितना
Where
तू
was
लड़ेगा ना, उतना
विशालक्षी?
कम
by
रहेगा
the way,
तेरा।
बोली नहीं।
जितना तू लड़ेगा ना, उतना कम
आयुष
होएगा।
आई थिंक कुछ नहीं बोला।
ये आयुष
मैं
बोला
बोला ना।
आयुष सेड
अच्छा,
अच्छा,
sorry,
sorry,
आयुष
sorry.
बोला ना लास्ट में।
निखिल नहीं
Sorry,
बोला।
sorry.
अरे ओरिजिनल जीडी में हम इंटरप्ट कैन बी इंटरप्ट एंड ऑल, आई थिंक इट
Yeah,
विल
Don't
obviously.
do
लुक
it
बैड नो।
continuously.
अरे you will in
Dude,
जॉब चाहिए ना भाई।
depends.
I'll be honest.
I have contrasting views
You
towards that.
Same,
interrupt
same.
in a GD because it's a discussion. It's not a debate. In a group discussion, you let the other person finish and then you start speaking. You cannot
Exactly.
stop the other person mid sentence and say a point just because you have some better point or a counter argument. So Taushik जो बोला बराबर है. You let the other person finish and only then you speak.
नहीं
Yeah,
रे,
the only
there are
problem
differing
happens
views
when
on how a
one has
GD
stopped.
works.
Sorry.
बोल पवन बोल।
Yeah. So
Dude, Rajdeep, these are views because our GDs were moderated last year by Hema ma'am.
क्या
Our
करना?
our GDs
yeah,
were
yeah.
actually, she judged us on the basis of our GDs. She told us
हाँ.
points specific कि तुम
Yeah.
what did you did wrong. She sent us a white noise.
नहीं रे,
इसलिए
मतलब
हम सबका view वैसे develop हो चुका है.
When you interrupt now, they don't think that you're that leadership person.
हाँ.
Then you're like just that nagging person.
तू
who's
tank
stopping
top में
the other
बैठा है,
person's
bro.
talking. तेरे पास का
अरे
tank top है क्या?
अरे that is okay. नहीं,
But
but see,
that's the thing. Yes.
हाँ.
Everyone has their point of view. I'm not telling you are
True.
wrong or I'm right.
नहीं,
but,
I'm not saying wrong. I'm saying I differ. मतलब देख,
yeah,
suppose
you
like,
differ definitely.
I would like to say one thing.
So just go with what you think.
Last year, मतलब I wasn't there in the process, but I had a word with those who were in the JPMC. What they told me was there was one particular GD where there was just like this. There was a mature discussion, and they really liked it, and most of the people were selected for the next process. So I do agree with what Toshif is saying.
Actually, I'll tell you,
guys,
I
one
was
thing.
there in one GT. I was there in one GT last time. It was a mature discussion also, and the moderator was very displeased, and he said, "What is this? Nobody is saying anything." I think Vishalakshi was
Exactly.
also there in that one.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
think
right.
that
Nikhil
I
completely
wasn't
differs.
Toshif का GD by the way.
that is what I'm saying from the beginning. It depends on your moderator. There is no rule for a GD. Say if you believe that it's a discussion. I'm saying what Pawan said. What did you say, Pawan? You said that it's not a debate. It's a
Exactly.
discussion.
It's a discussion.
I disagree with that. Understand, it depends on your moderator. Preetha and Vishalakshi, they were in a JPMC ka GD. The person was displeased. I was in JPMC ka GD. ठीक है?
Oh.
I was eliminated in the technical round, but I qualified the GD ka round. In my GD, I was the only person who went on to the next round. So in my GD, everyone interrupted everyone. But there is a method in that
Limit to
madness, in
which
my
you can
opinion.
do that. and the way
Exactly.
you should do that.
नहीं,
Got
one
it, got
second.
it.
That will look
I don't
like
know
a
what
fish
the
market.
moderator will be, or
One second. Let me talk on what Rajdeep said. While Rajdeep, you're right. There is a very subtle way of picking up someone's words and continuing where he stops when he pauses even for a second. But not everyone is able to do that. Okay. People over here were not even talking. So the first stage over here is to actually make people talk rather than what you're saying, Rajdeep. Uh, Second point is what Shlok said, that interrupting someone, it looks like you don't have leadership skills. While that is true, the flip side is, if you're going to show leadership skills, it's not just about not interrupting someone, it's also encouraging people who have not talked to talk. None of y'all actually, I was looking at it, none of y'all pointed out ki, what's your opinion, Vishalakshi, or what's your opinion, Sham,
We
or
were not sure if they're
And
participating or
Pavan,
not.
that's not possible because
Pavan, yeah.
that
One
is
thing,
not.
one thing about that is if you ask someone else ki तुम बात करो, so it sounds as if like you're too cocky or something कि
Yeah, वो
मैंने
से-
कर लिया अब तुम भी बोलो बस.
okay. So you
Let's
don't.
let's
ये
let's
चीज
let's
last
let's
time हेमा मैम
see
ने
see
भी
see
मुझे
see.
कही थी.
Yeah,
I did that in some GD, so I got
there's
a
Just point
there's no
out.
end to there's
Let's
no
see.
end to discussion.
Yes.
Let's
This
there's
could
no
be.
end to discussion. My only idea was not to enforce any laws. It was just a thing कि कुछ भी करो, either interrupt or not interrupt, do a debate, not do a debate, maintain a decorum, maintain a decency. That's what actually I
एक
wanted.
काम करें.
कि fish market
In
मत बताना.
in this GD, all people who actually talk, like Toshif, Rajdeep, Pritha, Shantanu, you all have good views on finance के topics. All of you get out of the next GD. Let people who have not talked in this GD, they come in. और एक और
That's
कर
your
लो 6
experts.
बंदों की.
Correct.
That's
हाँ,
a
I'm
good
ready.
idea.
See, I
Go
have
ahead,
many doubts
Jackson,
regarding
Aditya,
GD.
Nikhil. Yeah.
अभी करना है.
See, how many people will be there usually in a GD, and what
6,
time
6
would
7.
be
to
there?
10. 6 to
5
10 will
to
be there.
5 to 6 on average,
See,
no?
what I thought was, the moment one stops speaking, there will be a competition kind of thing. 2, 3 will be speaking, but they somehow reach a consensus and one will speak. It's interrupting in between will create a chaos-like situation, right?
That's
See,
exactly
because if I interrupt while you're talking, then someone else will interrupt mine. And so the whole point won't see, we might think our point is good or he's repeating, but he doesn't think so. So when one does that, wouldn't that completely destroy the decorum?
I don't think interrupting is like, talk like not interrupting in the middle of your point per se, because what happens is in the middle, if nobody else is speaking, there comes a lull period. So you see that a person who is speaking, they just start grabbing points out of thin air just to keep on speaking. So I think the target is to identify that particular time and jump in with your with your good points. I think that interruption is agreeable, that is acceptable, but not probably jumping if a person has good points and speaking in the
Like,
middle of it.
just one thing on that. Like, suppose I interrupt somebody, right? And now someone see that I'm interrupting. What happens is the other 5 people also see someone's interrupting and then try the same thing on later, which ends up making it a fish market.
Guys, the GD
Okay,
topic was
let's-
something
let's-
else, not this. So
Let's-
let us move forward.
Arey, but so
Interrupt,
it's
not
actually
interrupt.
important.
Just do one thing. If someone is speaking, don't speak in middle. Let that person finish. उसके बाद तुम्हारा jump करो, whatever you guys want.
अरे
to do.
नहीं तो फिर that's the point. No, that was the point of the discussion. I'll give you an example. This is what my perspective is. Okay, I'll give the example of PK. PK, when you started what you were saying, okay, about AI or automation and the future, you were making rapt sense. Everyone was listening. Towards the end of your speech, okay, you were sort of concluding. Your points were finished, but you were continuing to speak. The same thing happened with me when I was speaking. If you listen to my speech properly in the beginning, I spoke sense for the first 2 minutes. Last 1 minute I was like, भाई यार कोई interrupt करो, कोई मुझे चुप
नहीं तो
बैठा
you
दो.
have to you are
You
not
need to cut
obliged
short.
to do.
Yeah.
You have
अरे
to
that
finish.
is how I have been a part of
See,
GDs. देख
नहीं,
GDs
नहीं,
were not something MBA में आके ना
I
GD को
agree
ऐसे
with
बोलना
Rajdeep
नहीं
here.
होता.
अरे नहीं, see, the thing
just
is,
stop
देख,
talking.
हम लोग सब चुप क्यों थे? We were just being decent कि let Rajdeep
वही तो
finish.
भाई.
मैंने देख मेरा point खत्म हो गया तो मैंने बोल दिया. There's no harm in telling कि I'm done with my point, or there is no harm in stopping just like that. Just stop. I believe that this is the future of AI. I put forward 2 good points, and then I put forward, okay, I believe AI is good, but then I have one more thing कि they won't be completely replacing. There would be human interaction because it is all up to humans. It is humans who are running the companies, and it is what trading and finance is dependent on. That's it. Okay, खत्म हो गया ना. You don't go keeping कि कब मेरा कुछ contrasting
No,
point
but
आए, controversial आए,
Kaushik,
कोई मुझे काटे. That's the
Kaushik,
point.
you are saying that after you've spoken, and maybe you have experience in the. Not everyone who is out here will, there'll be other people who will also be joining, not just the people out here.
That's
So when they will,
exactly.
then
That's
they
why we are
will.
having a mock to practice that.
No, Toshif. See, there are 14 people out here, and there will be others also. So they may not realize कि अच्छा मैं same ही point बोले जा रहा हूँ. It is not relevant. So that time Rajdeep is right. You will have to interrupt them.
हाँ,
How you
वो
interrupt
पॉइंट पे
is
करो. वो that's not the issue. अगर उसने रिपीट किया तो ठीक है, वो उसका स्पीच खत्म हुआ, बाद में बोलो ना
And
ऐसा.
they
but
और
that becomes
राजदीप इज
subjective,
स्पेलिंग.
ना?
नहीं,
not
राजदीप
only
ये बोल रहा है कि
subjective. It's
मुझे
very
कोई
subjective.
इंटरप्ट नहीं कर रहा है तो आई गो ऑन स्पीकिंग.
I agree with Rajdeep here. Sorry, Kaushik. You
अरे
won't
नहीं,
stop. You
There
won't
is
stop talking in a GD just
नहीं
like that because the
Karthik
point
एक
खत्म हो गया.
Karthik एक
मैं
बात
तो
सोच. Sometimes
forcefully
the
मैं तो
previous
forcefully
point.
चुप बैठ गया because I'm looking at your face and I'm like कि भाई चलो ठीक है, no one will interrupt,
नहीं,
so I said कि
see,
भाई चलो I'm continuing.
Okay,
the
guys.
thing is, it's not stopping, it's concluding your point. That's what. Conclude so that other can speak.
Yeah, okay,
Honestly,
it's fine,
Guys,
it's
guys.
It's fine.
fine,
एक
it's
और
fine.
actual GD ऐसी होती है जैसे हम बहस कर रहे हैं.
Wait.
हाँ ये
First
बहस
is
चलता है.
Rajdeep,
But
This
Pritha,
is the
and
funniest.
myself.
We're having a GD on the GD instead of a topic.
Okay,
Kaushik,
okay.
Rajdeep, and myself will not be part of the GD. Let others
Okay,
speak.
Pawan, Abhishek, Vishalakshi, Nikhil, Aditya, and Jackson. 6 people.
वही JPMC वाले कौन है? Priority कौन?
नहीं, JPMC और नो, सबको कभी ना कभी तो
अरे
देना
करो
ही है.
यार करो.
Pawan, Abhishek, Vishalakshi, Nikhil, Jackson, Aditya, come on cam. We guys are switching off. We'll just be the moderator. Karthik,
Okay.
Moderator
the
तो
topic.
कौशिक है.
आ गया
अरे नहीं, मतलब
I will
audience,
not enter that space.
audience, sorry.
चलो.
बाकी सब will just listen. Karthik दे दे. Pawan, Vishalakshi, Nikhil, you in? Jackson, Aditya. Any
भाई
hands up
वीडियो ऑन
from
कर
you
सकते हो
guys?
तो कर लो. Whoever is participating.
Video on कर.
Aditya, Jackson, Nikhil, you guys in?
Oh yeah, but my video is an issue. Right?
हाँ okay.
That's okay. Just speak up.
Ayush to mute.
You four. आदित्य.
अब नया टॉपिक
हाँ दे रहे रुक जाओ.
हाँ.
Youth, एक second. You three, Vishalakshi and who else? Aditya Narayan है ना?
Yeah, and Jackson.
हाँ Jackson, okay.
Nikhil too. Nikhil.
आ जाओ, जिसको आना है पहले बता दो.
निखिल है ही नहीं यहाँ पे, I guess.
Nikhil, he is here.
Is it?
चलो ठीक है.
On
You
the call,
6.
but he's not
Second,
listening.
you
I'll
5.
start.
Okay, no worries.
कार्तिक तू भी नहीं था ना जीडी का पार्ट?
क्योंकि मैं फाइनेंस से दूर रहता हूँ.
तो मैं भी फाइनेंस से दूर ही है, बट ठीक है चल.
बाहर निकल जा. I didn't force you.
So the topic is going to be
अरे
finance.
यार, topic
Obviously
बताओ.
JPMC वाले उससे उठा रहा हूँ मैं.
Then I won't speak.
If you have point, you may speak.
ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. विशालक्षी he's
अरे
out
भाई
or he's
start
not.
करो.
अरे कोई और घुस जाओ, चलो.
हाँ कोई और घुस जाओ.
Once in.
Sham, you want to go?
श्याम घुस जा. चल स्लो का.
श्याम आ जाओ.
नो वरीज.
क्या हुआ?
क्या हुआ?
Rapping चालू
ये
कर.
बॉस रहता है.
अरे I was not there. क्या हुआ?
कुछ नहीं. जेडी में पार्टिसिपेट करने की नहीं हो रही है.
हाँ चल.
ठीक है ये है.
चल टॉपिक दे दे.
Guys, start at 10:15. Topic is privatization of PSUs, needed or not. Privatization of PSUs, needed or not. And we'll start at 10:15.
Left, I think.
Guys, someone please replace Shlok. He has lost his internet.
I'll join then. Yeah.
कोई बात नहीं, 5 का कर ले, no worries.
Hey, Sham.
Sham wants to join.
श्याम आ जा. All right, guys, best of luck. Please start.
Okay. So, yeah, as we know, India is a mixed economy. Both private and public sector exist, like in all sectors. But recently, public sector enterprises are being seen making losses. So, is it necessary to privatize the public sector? I think yes, it is necessary because it has many benefits. Privatization is beneficial for the growth and sustainability of the country also, and it can increase the output level of the country, which will benefit, indirectly benefit each and every citizens of the country.
And so I would like to say that the reason behind having PSU is that at the time of independence, we are not well equipped. Our public sector is not that good to be in all the industries like in steel and in electronics and all other sector. And the PSUs emerged. But now the situation is different. PSUs, I have more power and very well equipped to tackle all these challenges and to operate with efficiency. And therefore, I believe that there will be privatization, and slowly we need to shift from public PSUs to making company private. And we have seen that this increase the efficiencies of company in a very effective way. Like whenever we heard the news of any company or bank going privatized, and we see that a huge increase in stock price. The reason behind the increase in stock price is that people value the company more after it went privatized. So I believe that there should be a privatization, but it should be in slow phase, because we have to look at the jobs of people, because generally when company convert from PSU to private, people many people are thrown out from the job, so we need to take care of that as well.
Exactly, and I believe the same, that needs were different 50 years ago and needs are different right now. Right now, the priority should be to utilize the honest taxpayers' money efficiently instead of infusing it in PSU every year to keep them alive. I think government work is more of welfare and development of people instead of doing business. And it's not like that government doesn't have trained officers and other people to work for the PSUs. But I think they are trained for the welfare and not much for doing business and managing the PSUs and all. So I think privatization overall helps in boosting the economic development and to bringing the more advanced technology in that particular sector. And as we have seen, every time something came up like LPG and other reforms in the past, we have saw that it increased the GDP growth of the economy. For example, in the last few decades, the GDP was continuously growing at around 3 to 4%. Then it suddenly shoot up to 7 to 8% per year. That is just because of government came up with reforms like opening the economy and creating for creative and innovative thinking, as well as systematic planning to realize the full potential of the more than 70% of the young population of India.
I, I have a
I have to
differing view
disagree
on.
with you guys, because especially like most of the time we are comparing India with the developed states, but actually I don't think we are in a situation to compare India with Western Europe or USA, because when we think about, like, take the example of telecom industry, and most like almost like more than 50, like around 60 70 percentage of the people are living in rural India. And if government try to get out of the telecom industry, these telecom, like the private sectors, they will, like, their primary motive will be only on profit, and these guys will not, like, they will not provide services to rural parts, like some hilly regions or those kind of areas, and those people will be like just excluded from the society, and that will create a divide. That same thing will happen in the educational sector as well, because in India, like, only like 80% of the people are literate. So if government is getting out of the educational sector, then it will create problems. At the same time, how the government does the privatization is also an issue we have to look at, because like many of the profit making PSUs have been sold, but I agree with that, like many PSUs are making loss, but those things should be sold or privatized. But at the same time, when we are selling some profit making PSUs, that, like, to raise some amount of money, that will create problems in the future. And especially, like, there are some main sectors like health sector, education, communication. When government try to get out of this sector, the poor people will be left out, and that that will eventually, like, it will again widen the gap between the rich and the poor.
Yeah, I would also like to not completely support privatization, because one of the thing is how privatization happens. One thing that usually happens is they will start to defund the public sector, like they will not improve the facilities in railway and all. So people will think that privatization of this kind of public sector enterprises will improve the condition, but it is the unwillingness of the government that has made it into that condition. And when it is privatized, obviously sometimes some situation, some condition and all might have been improved, but even when GDP increases, it will be in the cost of heavy inequality, and the advantages will not be reached to every other people, because unlike the government, which is supposed to be working for the people, private companies do not think about welfare of the people. Their primary concern will only be on profit. One example, especially on critical infrastructures or healthcare sectors, etc., I can tell you what is the problem with the example. Like in COVID times, in my state of Kerala, it was a public sector company that produced enough oxygen, and they were able to export it to other states. And if you take hospital, there is something in finance that we study called optimization. See, if there is a hospital where the 500 people can be accommodated, they will never, usually 500 people comes over there, they will never think of making it a 2000 bed hospital, because that will be running of it will be more expensive. They have to cut the cost. This is what we have studied in our subject called CMA also. So what they will do is, in critical such kind of thing, uh, they will not be prepared to accommodate all lot of people. So this service cannot be provided to everyone. So what they will do is to minimize the number and only allow people who are affordable for that to come and take this improved services. So even when you say services improve, it will be for a few people. So that is why critical infrastructure, healthcare, education, such kind of sectors should never be privatized. And companies that are already running on profit, there is no need of privatizing that. That sector can be improved, which can be used to the society for the welfare of the people by government funding itself. So this is what I have to say.
See, I
I would
don't
like to
agree with the
contradict your
point.
point. I
Yeah,
would
yeah,
like to
okay.
contradict with your point. In the budget 2021, so there is a gap between government's income and expenditure, which is actually worsening the picture of revenue model. And so I think that privatization is necessary as it increases the efficiency of the economy as the whole. We can take example of China, like how China migrated from poverty to prosperity after the privatization. So yeah, if we apply the same model, we can actually we can actually grow each and every sector. And as Jackson said, if privatization happens, it cannot be they cannot provide services in rural areas, but it is not true. They can actually expand its operations And I guess, yeah,
Yeah,
privatization is
I agree
necessary.
with the point Vishalakshi made, and the one point which Abhishek made was that the sole purpose of having a doing or of private companies to earn profit, and I don't agree with that. And I what I believe is that if there will be privatization, more company will come, and there will be a healthy competition or competition among them, and this will ultimately help the public. We can see the example of our telecom sector. Here ultimately the benefit taker are the public, and we can also see the thing got changed due to privatization, like in railway. So recently government of India introduced a private train which is Tejas Express. So and the train is very efficient. You can see the efficiency and the time management of that, and government imposed penalty if the train got late, and the people who travel will get some refund.
Guys, last 3 minutes, please wind up.
The people who get refund because if the train got delayed, so there will be a healthy competition between the among between the government of India, means our railway, Indian railway, and this private IRCTC. So what I believe is that there should be privatization, and but it should be in the phase wise manner, so that the people job did not get affected, and there should be a regulatory authority in case of monopoly or duopoly, so that the people so this private company did not take advantage from the public.
See, I agree some of the conditions will be improved, but at what cost? How many people will be able to access all those services? That is the main question that I have to say. See, when the train it is privatized, obviously the price of the train will be increased. In the telecom sector, I'm not denying that Geo has made the thing fast, but the government could have done that with BSNL, could have improved technologies, or like what happened after 3 months they charge their price. So as you said, monopoly or duopoly, it is very difficult to stop that when there is a competition kind of a scenario. So Vishalakshi mentioned about China. I will tell you, in China also, even while they privatized, they have not privatized much of the critical infrastructure, healthcare, education, road, and bank. All these four were completely by the government, and they kind of reduced. But if we privatize all the critical sectors and if there is no regulatory authority, it will always lead to kind of monopoly, duopoly situation, and very big inequality in the society.
Also, one
All right,
point
time up,
about
time up, time up, time up, time up. आ जाओ भाई सारे वीडियो पे फीडबैक के लिए.
अच्छा था ये वाला.
टॉपिक बढ़िया था.
पीके मस्त पॉइंट्स थे यार.
पीके के एक्चुअली अच्छे पॉइंट्स होते हैं, लाइक फ्रैंकली.
पीके तो अपना फाड़ू है.
बीच में बजट भी आया कहीं पे.
मुझे कुछ टॉपिक्स में अच्छा ज्ञान होते हैं, कुछ टॉपिक्स में कुछ नहीं मत मालूम होते हैं. होते हैं तो बोलते हैं, but still one problem I have is, see, I talk very slow, like my voice message and all people hear it 1.5 speed will be still normal. So the problem, and I also see, I also take time to think. So the problem in GD and all is some people would have mistakenly think I have stopped. They might interrupt, or I might take time because like my mother tongue is Malayalam. English. These are some of my personal.
Like this every time you speak.
These are some of my personal problems that I felt in.
That's okay. That's okay. I guess there were good points, and like you guys interrupted also quite a lot in this JD. Rajdeep might be happy.
मेरे से thumbs up कभी मिल गया.
Yeah, I had one really interesting point, just sharing it here so that you guys may get the knowledge. The thing is, PSUs are loss making because of how they are run, and not because of something they are or some sector they are working in. If you see into the financials of the PSUs, they are heavily asset rich companies. They have a lot of asset, but the only thing is in terms of how they are managing, how their process is to run the business, that's very inefficient. That's very outdated. So I see it in a way that instead of privatization, what they should focus on is some kind of liquidization, partial liquidization, to fund the company and give it a revamp, kind of everything, like point to point revamp. Don't invest in some future projects. but invest in revamping the whole thing to modernize the whole process and people and the running of the company, and then they can make a dent in the industry. That's what I think. So that was my point.
Like the asset monetization pipeline, something came up, I think.
Yeah, asset monetization.
Yeah.
That
That's
is
what
not privatization actually.
Yeah.
That is
Privatization is not the way forward, because see, these are good assets which the government has. If it gives out all of the assets, they won't have any income stream except from taxes.
ब्रो पीपल को जॉब सिक्योरिटी रहता है पीएसयू में इसलिए काम नहीं
हाँ
करता
हाँ
मेन
exactly.
अच्छा
ये
गाइस,
efficient नहीं है।
तो पहले इनको फीडबैक दे देते हैं
Yes, please.
स्पीकर्स को।
Yeah, it was
ये तो
good.
ये अच्छा था। एक बात बताओ, डिड आदित्य स्पीक और वाज इट आई हू लाइक?
You
he was
आदित्य भाई
about to
बोल ना,
speak,
लाइक इफ
एकदम last
अगर
moment.
टाइम, इफ टाइम डजंट परमिट मी, तो आई विल स्टॉप यू इन बिटवीन।
Yeah.
तीसरी डिबेट, हाँ या ना?
आज नहीं, आज बहुत
मैं भी जा रहा हूँ,
प्रीता
थक गया
हाँ
बहुत।
कर रही थी बीच में।
हाँ, मुझे एक्चुअली कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है।
आजा। और कोई?
अच्छा, कल कर रहे हैं क्या कुछ?
कोई नहीं आया
कल, मुश्किल है 4 लेक्चर।
FIS संडे
एग्जाम भी होता है।
एग्जाम होता है
भाई, संडे इवनिंग।
देख अभी सब हाँ बोलेंगे,
माफ करो यार।
इवनिंग में